This is the Infinix GT30 Pro, and it's doing a lot of things that budget phones usually don't do. From GT gaming triggers to a 144Hz refresh rate, a beautiful AMOLED display to 45-watt fast charging, and if you couldn't tell, this one is clearly aiming for gamers. But here's the thing, specs on paper don't tell the whole story. So in this video, we're unboxing it, checking out the hardware, looking at many other things that this phone can offer, and testing how it actually handles gaming in the real world. So yeah, let's see if the GT30 Pro is just flashy or if there's real performance behind all of the flashy specs. Now first off, the box itself already sets the tone. A very nice gray box with some accents, and you've got the bold GT branding on the front and center. Now when you lift up the top, the first thing that you'll see is a black box, and in this black box there will be a clear case, which again in the US you really don't get with many phones. Underneath that you got the phone wrapped in plastic, and we'll put that aside for later. And underneath the phone you got the 45-watt charging brick, and yes, this is also something that we don't get with phones that come to the US, and it's pretty chunky, not one of those small underpowered adapters. And next to that you have a USB-C to USB-A charging cable, and something that I actually wasn't expecting was they actually included a pair of wired USB-C earbuds, and that was a pretty nice touch. And it was pretty nice since we barely see that anymore, especially in this price range. And also I have the 30 Pro Gaming Master Edition that comes with a gift box that includes a magnetic cooling fan and also the magnetic thermal case that feels a bit more premium than the standard case on the original. And honestly, everything here is packed super neatly. Nothing really feels like an afterthought. Even the accessories are labeled and sealed properly, which sounds minor, but it really does add to the whole unboxing experience. It feels intentional. Unlike Google, Samsung, and Apple, it feels like they actually cared about the presentation. But alright, taking a first proper look at the phone, this thing is really sleek. It's got that aggressive gamer aesthetic without going full RGB overload, but if you do want that, there is subtle lighting on the back that glows during charging and gameplay. It's low key, but when it lights up, it looks pretty good. Now just to give you guys some quick numbers, this thing is 163.7 millimeters tall, 75.8 millimeters wide, and only 7.99 millimeters thick, and that's actually slimmer than what I expected, especially for a gaming focused phone. It also weighs in at 188 grams, which feels just right. Not too heavy, not too light, just enough to feel solid in the hand, but not so much that it feels too bulky. The back panel has this matte finish with some reflective accents depending on the angle. Pretty fingerprint resistant too, which is a win. The camera bump is a clean square setup, nothing obnoxiously huge, and it sits flush enough that it doesn't rock too much when placed flat. Now going around the sides, you've got your power and volume buttons on the right, and they've got this nice tactile click to them. And what's cool is the gaming triggers that are built into the frame. Not physical pop-up ones, but they're touch ones that you can map during gameplay, and this is a big plus if you're into games like Call of Duty Mobile and Genshin Impact. There's a USB-C port at the bottom, right next to the SIM tray, and one of those dual speaker grills. The second one is up top, giving you the stereo audio, and one thing that I will admit is that I'm pretty disappointed by the fact that it doesn't have a headphone jack. It would be nice to charge my phone and use my headphones while gaming, because not only do you need premium sound when you're playing games like Call of Duty Mobile, but you also want to keep it plugged in since it will run the battery. But despite that, in the hand, the GT30 Pro feels surprisingly premium. The curves are subtle, the weight is balanced, and the grip is secure enough that you won't feel like it's going to slip mid-game. It doesn't really scream budget at all. If anything, it punches well above its class in terms of design. Now let's talk about the screen, because this right here is easily one of the best highlights of the 30 Pro. Right here you're looking at a 6.78-inch LTPS AMOLED display, and it's not just big, but it's also immersive. It has a 93.7 screen to body ratio. It pulls you right into the content, and the resolution is slightly above 1080p, but slightly below 1440p, and it honestly looks really good. The text look crisp, the colors pop, and watching videos or gaming on this thing feels way more high-end that you'd expect at this price point. And not only that, but you're also getting a 144Hz refresh rate, which is buttery smooth whether you're gaming or just scrolling through social media. Touch response is crazy fast too. It has 240Hz touch sampling, and it spikes up to 2160Hz instant touch sampling during gaming. And it really does make a noticeable difference in fast-paced games where every millisecond counts. Now brightness is also really good. You've got 700 nit its typical 1600 nits in high brightness mode and a very wild peak of 4500 nits under direct sunlight, so the outdoor visibility is flawless. It's also 100% DCI P3 color accurate, which means that it's vibrant and color accurate, great for viewing content, photo editing, and it's also protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 7, which means that it can survive a couple of pretty bad drops. Under the hood, the phone's running MediaTek Dimensity 8350 Ultimate. It's got an octa-core setup and 4 Cortex A510 efficiency cores paired with the Mali G615 MC6 GPU, and as you can tell right here, this thing can handle graphically intense games, multitasking, and pretty much anything that you throw at it without breaking a sweat. Storage wise, you're looking at 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage, which means fast app loading, smooth multitasking, and plenty of room for games, videos, and apps. You also get RAM expansion if needed, pushing this thing up to 24 gigabytes of RAM virtually, but it's very questionable if you really need 24 gigabytes of RAM, even for mobile gaming. But for the gamers, it's got actual optimization features baked in. The phone runs on XOS 15, built on Android 15, and it includes a dedicated game mode that tunes performance, prioritizes network traffic, and lets you customize touch sensitivity and audio profiles. There's even vapor chamber cooling inside, helping it maintain performance during extended gaming sessions. So yeah, on paper and in real use, this phone isn't just gaming capable, it's genuinely built for it. But alright, let's talk battery, because if you're gaming, streaming, or just always on your phone, battery life and charging speed for this phone is damn near make or break. Now the GT30 Pro comes with a 5500 mAh battery, which is slightly above average, especially for a phone that's this slim. The extra capacity gives it a noticeable edge when it comes to screen on time, and it really helps during longer gaming sessions or video playback. Charging wise, this one supports up to 45 watt wired charging, which includes the brick. And you also get 30 watt wireless charging, which is honestly rare in this price range. On top of that, it supports reverse wired charging at 10 watts and even wireless reverse charging at 5 watts. So yeah, it can even top off your earbuds or another device if needed. Also, charging from 0 to 100% took just about 50 minutes, which is pretty solid considering the size of the battery. And while charging, the phone stays surprisingly cool, no alarm heat, just a little warmth near the back panel around the upper frame, which is expected. There's also built-in thermal management and charging protection, so it gradually reduces speed after 80% to preserve battery life. And as for usage, during my first couple of days, I'm getting around 6 to 7 hours of screen time per day with a mix of gaming, YouTube, and camera testing. And during intense gaming sessions, it holds up well without draining rapidly. And that's where the large capacity really helps, especially with the very efficient processing chip. So yeah, so far the GT30 Pro isn't just fast when it's on, but it's also fast when it's charging too. But alright, now it's time to throw this phone into the fire. Let's see how the GT30 Pro actually handles real-world gaming. Starting with Call of Duty Mobile, I booted it up and went straight into the graphics settings. And yep, it supports ultra-wide frame rate with very high graphics. I pushed it all the way up and jumped into a multiplayer match. Gaming was super smooth, holding steady around 120 frames per second for most of the session, and the 144Hz display and the Dimensity 8350 chip held up really well. Touch response felt tight, and there was no noticeable lag or delay between input and action. The instant touch sampling rate at 2160Hz definitely kicks in here. Aiming, sliding, switching weapons, all felt super responsive. Next up, I played Asphalt 9 and it was the same deal. Graphics cranked up to HDR Plus Extreme. The FPS stayed close to 90 to 100 range during racing. No jitters, no frame drops, and it handled everything very clean. The vapor chamber cooling seems to be doing its job. And after about 35 minutes of play, the phone did get warm around the top back near the camera module, but nothing uncomfortable or dangerous. Now let's talk about the sound, because the GT30 Pro has dual JBL branded stereo speakers, and honestly, I was expecting more. They are loud, sure, but the clarity and depth just isn't there. The bass is flat, the mids are sharp, and overall, it sounds a bit hollow, especially during intense in-game moments where audio cues matter. So if you're serious about gaming, you'll probably want to use your wireless earbuds or a headset. Now when it comes to haptics, they're average. You get basic vibration feedback during shooting or UI interaction, but it's not tuned or dynamic like on flagship devices. It does the job, but it's not something that really stands out. And as for software, game mode in XOS 15 actually feels pretty decent. It gives you live performance stats, quick toggles for do not disturb, screen recording, an FPS counter, and a pop-up sidebar to adjust brightness or lock touch input. It's clean and doesn't really get in the way. So how does it perform overall? For the price and the specs, the GT30 Pro delivers a surprisingly solid gaming experience. High refresh rate support in games like Call of Duty Mobile or BGMI, stable thermal performance, and minimal frame drops. It feels like a phone that's genuinely built with mobile gamers in mind. It's not perfect, especially on the audio front, but in terms of raw power and display response, it does hold its ground. Now look, I know this phone is all about gaming, but just in case you're wondering what the cameras are like, here's a quick look. Now on the back, you're getting a 108 megapixel main sensor and a 13 megapixel selfie camera that is fairly standard. I took a few test shots in daylight and honestly, they came out better than expected. The main sensor delivers sharp, detailed images with decent dynamic range. Portrait mode does a respectable job with edge detection, and the background blur is soft and the subject cutout is mostly accurate. Selfies are okay, not amazing, but they do get the job done in good lighting. The front camera tends to smooth skin a bit even with beauty filters off, but it's usable for casual shots and video calls. The camera app itself is snappy, no lag between shots, and switching modes is pretty quick. There's a bunch of scene modes built in too: night mode, pro mode, super macro, and even film mode if you want to be a bit more creative. And yes, for video, it can shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which is pretty impressive for a phone of this price and category. Stabilization isn't flagship tier, but it's there and works decently at 1080p. So yeah, the GT30 Pro won't replace your mirrorless camera anytime soon, but for a phone that's clearly built for gaming, the cameras are okay. They're solid, reliable, and more than enough for social media or everyday use. So as far as first impressions, the GT30 Pro is packing way more than I expected. From the 144Hz AMOLED display to the Dimensity 8350 chip that holds its ground in gaming, to 45-watt fast charging, to a 5500 mAh battery, and even a surprisingly decent 108 megapixel camera setup. Again, it's clearly built for gamers, the kind of person who wants smooth performance, high frame rate support, and a flashy design without paying flagship prices. And honestly, it delivers on most of that. That said, the JBL speakers were very underwhelming, and I'll need to push it further with long-term gaming and camera use before making any final calls. But for now, it looks like Infinix might have dropped a serious contender in the mid-range gaming space. But alright, that's my first look at the GT30 Pro. And we're just getting started because I'm going to keep testing this phone over the next few days, especially under heavy gaming and camera use. So if you want to see how it holds up in the long run, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also, if you got any questions or something specific that you want me to test in the full review, drop it in the comments. And thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.